So what happens when a celebrity's big moral stand might actually be a calculated career move? Well, today we're pulling back the curtain on a Hollywood story that connects one of the world's biggest stars, Timothée Chalamet, to the infamous Jeffrey Epstein files. And let me tell you, it reveals a fascinating clash between public image and some very private maneuvering.
You might have seen the headlines recently, Timothée Chalamet's name popping up in documents connected to Jeffrey Epstein. But the story here is not at all what you might think. It's actually an indirect link, but one that cracks open a huge Hollywood controversy from 2018 and makes you question the real reasons behind a very public, very praised gesture. And just to be super clear right off the bat, this isn't a story about Chalamet having any kind of direct relationship with Epstein. Nope, it's about what was said about him in a private email sent to Epstein. And this email gives us a really stunning behind-the-scenes look at what was happening during a pivotal moment in his career.
Okay, so it all kicks off with this one single email, found buried in a bunch of documents. And what's in it paints a strikingly different picture of a public gesture that was made right at the height of the #MeToo movement.
You see, at the very heart of this whole thing are three key figures. We're talking about a rising star who's navigating his first crazy award season, a really controversial director facing a ton of new scrutiny, and a seriously powerful publicist with some very, very influential friends. So who exactly are the key players at the center of this whole web? Let's break it down.
All right, so first up, of course, is Timothée Chalamet. Back in 2018, he was the absolute toast of Hollywood, campaigning for an Oscar. Then you've got Woody Allen, the director of a film Chalamet had just wrapped. But the crucial link, the person connecting all these dots, is Peggy Siegel, a top-tier publicist who also happened to be a close associate of Jeffrey Epstein.
Now, Peggy Siegel was a major player in Hollywood, and her emails to Epstein give us this raw, completely unfiltered look into how the industry really works. And it's one of these emails that throws Chalamet right into the middle of this whole narrative.
So, this is the juicy part. What did this email from Siegel to Epstein actually say? Well, the explosive allegation at its core is all about Chalamet's very public decision to denounce Woody Allen.
Now, you might remember this. At the time, Chalamet released this big statement saying he regretted working with Allen and that he was going to donate his entire salary from the movie to charity. Siegel's email, though, it tells a very, very different story about why he did it.
According to Siegel, Chalamet wasn't acting out of some deep-seated principle. She claims, and I'm quoting here, that he was sick about being forced into it. She says the pressure from the press during his Oscar campaign was just too much and that in the end, it was his agents who made him give his money away. But wait, it goes even further. The email frames the whole donation not as some kind of support for victims, but as a cynical gesture for what Siegel pretty dismissively calls hysterical women and media. She claimed that the young actor was simply, her words, pandering in a bigger game. And the ultimate prize in that game? An Oscar for Call Me By Your Name. So this leads us to this massive split, right? You've got the private allegations that are being thrown around in this email versus the very public, very principled stand that Chalamet was presenting to the world. I mean, let's just remember his official statement from 2018. He said he wanted to stand shoulder to shoulder with the brave artists who are fighting for all people to be treated with the respect and dignity they deserve. He really positioned the whole thing as a clear moral choice. And right here, this is the absolute core of the conflict. On one side, you have this public story of solidarity and doing the right thing, and on the other, you have a private story of resentment, career strategy, and just intense PR pressure. It's night and day. And get this, the private version of the story doesn't just come from Peggy Siegel. In his own memoir from 2020, Woody Allen himself claimed that Chalamet told Allen's sister he had to denounce him publicly because his agent thought it would give him a better shot at winning the Oscar.
And the bad blood just kept flowing. There's another email, this one from Woody Allen's wife, Previn, also sent to Jeffrey Epstein. Apparently, after a different Chalamet movie got a bad review, she forwarded the article and wrote, quote, "I'm glad that prick Chalamet's movie did not get a good review. Wow."
So what does all of this really show us? Well, it's a fascinating, if maybe a little cynical, case study in the sheer power of the celebrity PR machine and how carefully a public image is crafted.
And, people were skeptical even at the time. The commentator Bill Maher came right out and said Chalamet knew about the allegations against Allen for decades, like basically everyone in Hollywood, and then just backstabbed him when the #MeToo movement made it convenient to do so.
This whole episode really taps into a much bigger conversation about authenticity in Hollywood. It makes you ask questions about, performative activism, these grand public gestures that might be more about managing your brand than what you actually believe. And it shows just how calculated a celebrity's career path can really be.
And this brings us right up to today. A lot of observers now point back to this 2018 incident as like an early sign of an incredibly effective PR team at work. In fact, many people credit that same team with his ability to navigate potentially negative press now and keep his squeaky clean image even while living this super high-profile, billionaire-adjacent lifestyle.
Ultimately, this whole saga kind of forces us to look past the red carpet glam. When an act of conscience can also be seen as a strategic move in a bigger game, it leaves us with a really critical question. In the polished, perfect world of Hollywood, how much of what we see is real? And how much is just a series of very, very good performances?